All right, welcome back, focused learners, to another explainer. I am literally so thrilled you're tuning in today, because we're about to bridge a 2,000-year gap. We're going to explore this absolutely fascinating intersection, where ancient philosophy, modern psychology, and cutting-edge neuroscience all collide. We'll be looking at how the very way our minds are wired actually kind of works against our own happiness. And much more importantly, we're going to dig into the actual data on how we can break free from it.
Okay, let's dive right into this with a really profound thought from the ancient Greek philosopher Plato. This quote was actually just highlighted in an article by the Times of India, and it goes like this: "We can easily forgive a child who is afraid of the dark. The real tragedy of life is when men are afraid of the light." Wow. This isn't just some poetic observation, right? It totally sets up the philosophical stakes for what we're talking about today. Plato is hitting the nail on the head regarding our deeply ingrained human tendency to just hide from the truth. We avoid the light of reality basically because, well, reality can be incredibly uncomfortable.
So, that brings us to Section 1, Inside Plato's Cave.
To really get this, we're going to use a 2,000-year-old thought experiment from Plato's famous work, The Republic. And honestly, it is wild how perfectly it diagnoses modern human behavior. I want you to actively imagine yourself in this scenario for a second. Step 1, imprisonment. Picture yourself chained to a wall deep inside a dark cave, and you've been there since childhood. Your head is locked facing the back wall. Now behind you, there's a blazing fire and people are walking past it, holding up various objects. Those objects cast these big, flickering shadows on the wall right in front of you. And because those shadows are literally the only things you've ever seen, you totally mistake those dark silhouettes for absolute reality. That's your whole world. Okay, step 2, the departure. Imagine you're suddenly freed. You're dragged up this steep, rough, incredibly painful path out into the actual sunlight. At first, the light would completely blind you. It would physically hurt. Your first instinct would definitely be to turn around and sprint back down to that comfortable, familiar darkness you know so well. But slowly, your eyes adjust. You see the real world and you realize the shadows were just illusions. Finally, step 3, the return. You bravely head back down into the cave to free the others. But now your eyes are used to the bright sun, so you're stumbling around blindly in the dark. The other prisoners look at you, see you tripping over your own feet, and think, wow, going up there ruined him. So they refuse to leave. They violently fight to stay right there with their shadows.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how Plato uses his famous analogy of the divided line to explain the whole story. He draws this sharp, undeniable contrast between two totally different realms. Over on the left, we have the visible world. This is the shadows, the reflections, the illusions we just talked about. In our lives, it represents those comfortable, easy assumptions we just sort of accept every single day. But on the right side, we have the intelligible world. This is the heavy stuff: deductive reasoning, true forms, deep philosophical understanding. So, the cave? That's our natural human tendency to just settle for the visible, superficial world. Escaping the cave means you actually have to do the grueling, heavy lifting of reasoning to access the intelligible world, the actual, unfiltered truth.
Which leads us perfectly into Section 2, the jail of the mind.
Fast forward to the modern world. Today, our cave isn't made of rock and stone, right? It's constructed entirely by our own minds. We build it out of our daily routines, our cognitive dissonance, and, let's be honest, the little lies we constantly tell ourselves. To connect that ancient imagery to our lives right now, we're going to look at a very blunt but actually highly technical definition from Dr. Brad Blanton. He's a psychotherapist who specializes in Gestalt therapy. He defines the word bullshit simply as an abstraction from past experiences mistaken for current experience. Just think about that for a second. Our brains are these incredibly efficient survival machines. They take what happened in the past, categorize it, and create assumptions so we can navigate the world faster. But the problem starts when we mistake those past assumptions, those stale abstractions and old moral judgments for what's actually happening right in front of us, right now. When we do that, we literally build a jail out of them. We stop living in the present sensory world and we start living in the super comfortable but completely fake mental narrative.
And this brings us to a really stark, kind of jarring reality. As Dr. Blanton puts it, we all lie like hell. It wears us out. It is the major source of all human stress. He points out that holding back the truth from other people and from ourselves just to feel safe, it causes immense psychological suffering. Keeping secrets, clinging tightly to those past assumptions, constantly guarding our image, it literally deadens our experience of life. We spend so much of our mental energy defending those fake shadows on our personal cave wall that we just end up utterly exhausted, highly anxious, and deeply stressed out.
And guys, the consequences of this mental exhaustion aren't just in our heads. They are statistically fatal. 53%. Take a second to really absorb that massive number. According to data from the Centers for Disease Control, 53% of people who die before age 65 do so for reasons directly related to their lifestyle. So why is that? Well, psychotherapy suggests that we are desperately trying to compensate for the mental starvation of living inside our own lies. We overeat, we smoke, we drink, we just zone out, scrolling on our screens. All is this desperate attempt to make up for being cut off from the actual nourishment of genuine, honest, everyday life.
Let's look at the science behind this in Section 3, the neuroscience of routine.
Okay, we're shifting gears from psychology to pure biology here. Let's explicitly map those heavy, ancient iron chains from Plato's cave to the modern neurological darkness of running your brain on total autopilot. The biology of the comfort zone is actually pretty severe. When you just stick to a routine, doing the exact same repetitive habits day in and day out, your brain eventually gets way too comfortable. It just stops stretching, it stops growing. According to Dr. Sita Kedia from Palm Health, as we age, if we fail to challenge our brains, it allows plaque to naturally form. And this plaque actually inhibits your synapses, which are those vital little communication points between your brain cells. So your neural pathways literally weaken. Information starts passing slower and slower. This directly leads to a decline in cognitive function, memory impairment, and eventually actual neuron death. So staying in the dark cave of your routine physically degrades the biological structure of your own brain. No way around it.
So the crucial point is we need an antidote, and that antidote is neuroplasticity. Think of this as the biological equivalent of finally stepping out of the cave and into that blinding, beautiful sunlight. Neuroplasticity is simply your brain's ability to reorganize itself and form brand new connections and pathways between its cells in response to learning and fresh experiences. By actively forcing your brain to create these new pathways, you're literally fighting off that plaque buildup. You enhance your cognitive function, and you keep your mind razor sharp for your entire life.
All right, so how do we actually do this in the real world? Let's rapidly fire through these 5 actionable ways Palm Health recommends to stimulate neuroplasticity and finally break that mental autopilot. Number 1, learn a new skill. Something like playing an instrument. It actually increases your brain's processing speed. Number 2, chat with a friend. Social engagement actively boosts the recognition and decision-making centers of your brain. 3, community involvement. Volunteering releases hormones like oxytocin, which literally regulates stress and inflammation. 4, solve a puzzle. Ditch the passive scrolling for brain games. It actively stimulates your memory and imagination. And finally, number 5, explore new places. Just navigating a brand new physical environment forces your brain to spark resourceful, creative solutions.
Which brings us to our final act, Section 4, stepping into the light.
It is time to combine the philosophical courage of Plato's cave with the urgent biological necessity of radical honesty. There's this really profound quote that beautifully captures this transition. It says, "Your soul is dyed with the color of your thoughts. Your integrity is your destiny, is the light that guides your way." Facing uncomfortable truths, whether that means breaking a really stubborn habit, admitting a long-held lie to a loved one, or simply forcing yourself to learn a difficult new skill, it is absolutely going to feel blinding and painful at first. It is literally the sun hitting the eyes of the newly freed prisoner. But maintaining your integrity and refusing to just live in the shadows of past assumptions, that is the only way to achieve true understanding and lasting well-being.
And this brilliantly illustrates our ultimate goal here. We must take unconditional responsibility for our own minds. We have to actively guide our own ships. Because, the alternative is just letting the autopilot of past assumptions, the fear of cognitive dissonance, and all those comfortable little lies we tell ourselves steer us straight into the rocks. We have to boldly choose the difficult, honest reality over those easy, fake shadows.
So as we wrap up, I want to leave you with this direct, kind of provocative question to really ponder. Are you still mistaking shadows for reality, or are you ready to break your chains and step out into the light? I challenge you to take a hard look at your own comfort zones. Notice where you're just running on autopilot, or where you might be holding back the real truth. The journey upward is steep, for sure, and the light of reality might sting at first. But the active pursuit of truth, that is the only way to truly live a vibrant, fulfilling life. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep seeking the light, and I will catch you on